Hey guys, what's up? How y'all doing? I'm here to talk to you guys about the new episode of ReZero starting a life in another world, season 3, or ReZero Kara Hajimermo Isekai Sekatsu 3rd season on episode 1, or episode 51 of the total number of episodes. Anyways, this first episode was actually pretty relaxed most of the time. But when it came to the last 10 minutes or so that arrived, that's when it got a little heated up. And oh dear, I forgot how that feeling of weariness and worry, concern, and despair was when it came to ReZero's last season, which was let's see here. Let me go back in time. When was the last time since we had a second season of ReZero, huh? Part 2. Yeah, we had that 3 years ago. 3 years and many months, if I have to say so myself, with the help of other people explaining the situation. So, if by all means, let's just continue on. Anyways, let's start off the episode with Subaru training his butt off in his parkour training ground whatsoever. And apparently he's actually having fun, enjoying himself. Of course, he has to get stronger because he's Emilia's knight. So, yeah. But there were some nice funny moments with him being with Beatrice or Bieko, if anything, but not to mention there was some other troublesome things to come. Well, not too much troublesome things. We get some new characters involved. We see that one of them is named Joshua, which apparently he is actually the brother of Julius. Of course, when it comes to Julius and Subaru, their relationship is really at a, southbound downpour in bad ways. And we all know why. If you remember ReZero's first season, you understand why their relationship is in the ground, almost 6 feet under. Other than that, he ends up giving a message to Emilia that Anastasia from the water city of Pristella actually has something that Emilia wants, and it involves a possible crystal that will allow them to summon Puck or allow Puck to come into the crystal and have a communication, I guess. I mean, if you guys remember who Puck is from ReZero, he's that little tiny spirit animal looking like squirrel. I shouldn't maybe not say squirrel, maybe a miniature cat, however you want to say it. But I guess one of the objectives for Emilia for the time being is to bring Puck back, because that's her best friend and guardian and father figure, I guess. That's one way how to say it, whatever the case situation is. So we have to it that they end up making their leave the next day, but not before they end up consulting to Wasworld and some other people along the way. And eventually we have to it that Otto will later on go with them. Of course, Garfield is known to be the major powerful bodyguard. Nice to see him here and there. Not to mention, Otto ends up explaining to Emilia about the situation with the other rivals of who's trying to become the leader of the country whatsoever. But we see to it that when it comes to Krush herself, we all know that she lost her memory, so she's at a somewhat disadvantage. As for Felt, she's gathering other followers of who's gone through some possible horrible times like her, and we don't really know what her advantage is right now, but the only person that could be a major possible threat, or two of the people that's a possible threat to Emilia's rule or competition, is Priscilla and Anastasia. And so far, from what I heard, and if I have to sum it up correctly, without a lot of details, they pretty much have somewhat of a bigger advantage than Emilia for the time being, whatever the case is. But other than that, we have to it that they arrive at the Watergate City, which I thought was pretty cool, very beautiful by the way, amazing art, colors, and sound effects. We have to it Subaru's group will later on meet up with Anastasia. And of course we see Julius there, and when it comes to Subaru and Julius, like I said, their relationship is not that of friends, but I guess Subaru is just uncomfortable around him. Although there are reasons for that. I don't have to get into that, because if you watch the season or you read the material, you'll get the idea, whatever the situation is. Other than that, they talk about having to go meet up with the person that has the crystal. And eventually they have to go by boat to maybe make it go faster. Unfortunately, Subaru is a little seasick or possibly ocean sick or just afraid of water or made him want to vomit. And eventually he'll later on meet up with a new character, which I believe is called Liliana. We get to see that she ends up singing a song, and Subaru being Subaru ruins the moment when her singing was like off the charts, I guess, if that's the one way how to say it, if I have to really explain it. But other than that, they end up making an introduction with each other and ends up having to meet the guy who's supposed to have the crystal. But sadly, because Subaru got into another situation and he got into possible trouble, they cannot make that arrangement of getting the crystal at the situation at hand. So they will have to come back the next day due to Subaru messing things up. Eventually, they end up bumping into someone, which could be very bad news, because if anyone could know that facial recognition along with like the clothing he has and that menacing voice whatsoever, it's to show that he is major trouble. I forgot his name, but all I know is like he was a major nasty antagonist when it came he was a minor antagonist in season 2. He wasn't really much of a big troublemaker, but he really was one of those living organisms or beings that is responsible in Rem's condition. You get the idea. Well, he's not 100% responsible. It's the other guy, which I will get to just a moment, because this is where the next part comes in. But not before we see Reinhardt, because we all know how that guy is, and I love him to death. There's no denying of that. Enough of me being a fool other than that. We get to see another familiar character that I don't even remember. His name is Ratchins, but Subaru calls him Dumber, which apparently I'll call him Dumber too, because that's an easy way to recognize or even memorize him or even remember him. Other than that, we have Reinhardt shows up, and then we get to see Krush and Felice having a talk with each other. But Krush and Felice are also there because Anastasia has some information about like the Sin Archbishop representing Gluttony. And we all know who that guy is. If I remember correctly, he is that person that is 100% responsible for Rem's coma. And I mean the situation that she's in. And we all know that people make them memes all the time. Who is Rem? I was like, yeah, I never realized how much of a jerk you guys can be. Other than that, yeah, that's the situation why Felice and Krush, the green-haired long chick, is why they're here to talk about. Eventually, Subaru does get a little hostile, which I don't blame him for, because we all know that guy's the number one target that needs to be killed on the spot, because many reasons alone. No need to explain that. But whatever the situation is, we get to see Garfield, is pretty much in a tight mental strain, because he did clash against Reinhardt, but he actually caught his attack like no problem. And Garfield thought he was the strongest guy, and he really has that mentality where he needs to like go chill out, But eventually Subaru's like, okay, go ahead, just take your time and enjoy and cool off. Eventually, when it came to the place that they were staying at the inn, it was pretty much that tradition of Japan that we all could recognize, which I don't need to explain here. But other than that, there was a scene with like Mimi, I believe that's her name, right? The little cat girl who apparently has an infatuation or love struck of Garfield, ends up having to hang up with him when he's a little down or he's in a tight strain. And I remember, and when seeing this episode, he ends up having these hallucinations with that Elsa. I think her name was Elsa. Whatever she is, she's always the kind of person that likes to see people's intestines, if I have to say so. A little explicit, I apologize, but she's one of those gut-cutting open people that Garfield, I believe, if I remember correctly, have barely won. Whatever the situation, if it wasn't for Garfield, Elsa would have caused some a nasty mess of things, if I remember correctly, in season 2. Other than that, Garfield does save a couple kids from drowning when they were playing on the boat and about to get hit by another boat, and then he ends up feeling a little better about himself, but not before he ends up having to meet a person after he escorted a young child home to his home, and we get to see that person must be someone Garfield knows, because he calls her mother, and apparently she does not recognize him, to my shock. Whatever the situation, I hope that will show up soon. But other than that, there was another scene involving Wilhelm and Subaru talking with each other, and this involves possibly about Wilhelm unable to get any good relationship with his grandson, which is Reinhard. We don't really know what the situation is, but it must have happened somewhere in the past where his grandfather might have brushed him off or tell him to stay away, let him do his own thing. You do what you need to do, or you focus on what you need to focus. Whatever the situation is, if I had to explain it without a lot of detail, Wilhelm is pretty much in a bad relationship, or I guess in an awkward relationship where he can't talk to his grandson. Maybe he could ask Subaru for help, but Subaru just might have given him some small advice. Just try to make up. Just talk to him, There's nothing really hard about that. Other than solving the situation, when it came to the next day and everyone eating breakfast, there was one guy that ruined the mood or the atmosphere of it, and that guy is named Heinkel Austria, which apparently we get to know that this guy is actually the father of Reinhard and the son of Wilhelm. And apparently their relationship, if I have to say so myself, is very bad. Very, very bad. The guy's under the influence of alcohol, going rambling on, maybe causing some trouble, but not before we get to see Priscilla shutting him up, and she actually wanted this to happen because it'd be a little interesting. And when it comes to Priscilla, when her character is shown, she's a little I guess, what's the word? Chaotic, in a sense. She always likes to ruin the mood and make things a little entertaining, I guess, if I have to say so myself. Other than the situation that has happened and the event has passed, we get to see Julius explaining to Subaru about what the situation with the family is. Although he doesn't know much about it, he explained it in a way that it's a little complicated, that he may not be able to give any help at all. And due to the fact that Julius is trying to be that perfect knight whatsoever, he apparently wasn't able to give out his 100% feelings or his anger towards the guy who is the vice captain. That's Henkel whatsoever. Whatever he is, whatever the situation, he couldn't really act upon his emotions or get out of line because he has to maintain his appearance, his status, etc. But whatever the case, Subaru tells him, hey man, it's okay that you're not perfect and all. Nobody is going to be perfect. That's it. Sometimes you lashing out is possibly just the best way how to better than balling it in. So whatever it is, Subaru gives some advice to Julius and tells him it's okay to let loose, man. There's not a problem. Eventually, there was another scene involving Liliana having to do some music and Priscilla dancing, and we get to see that Priscilla makes an offer to Liliana, which apparently she respectfully declines, saying that she has her own ways of doing things. And Subaru and Emilia was actually surprised that Priscilla took it very well. And she goes hey, the world's mine, the entire world's my garden. I mean, I don't need everything that needs to stay by my side, that kind of thing. And we get to see Liliana ask Subaru, hey, how about you grab us something to eat, and then maybe we could, talk into a friendship. I could make some new music, yada, yada, yada. I go okay, enjoy yourself right there. However, this is where the last 10 minutes or last few minutes of the 1 hour and 30-minute episode, or should I say the movie episode, if I have to say it myself, comes into, comes into shock whatsoever. we get to see that there's a woman or a person ends up having to introduce herself after Subaru bumps into Dummer. She or he introduced herself that I am the Sin Archbishop and the Witch's Cult representing Wrath, Sirius Romani Conti. We get to see that she ends up making a speech, and people seems to be annoyed or possibly being awkward about her because of her speech and complaining, talking about a lot of things. But when it came to having to bring out a boy who apparently is in chains, and if I look at things in a certain way, I don't see his limbs anywhere, which apparently is scary enough, but it looks like people are not understanding the situation because they seem to be clapping and enjoying themselves, telling the boy, hey, don't cry, and it gets really hectic here on out because this boy, he's really literally scared to death and he's really chained up, and like I said, I don't see his limbs anywhere. Like they look like they've been amputated or cut off, whatever the situation. It looks like he ain't dead yet, or he didn't bleed out and he's still alive. After this serious Romantiki, whoever she is, the Archbishop of Wrath, is making her speech, it looks like everyone seems to be mesmerized by her speech and is under her control. But what's more crazy and scary is that she dropped the boy from a long, tall building, and after his head explodes, everyone who was present of the Wrath of Bishops, witch whatsoever, after that Wrath witch just dropped the boy and the boy's head explodes, everyone's head explodes, and now Subaru died, and he's at the checkpoint where he is with Emilia, Priscilla, Liliana, Bieco, and he goes like, frick, I'm sick, I'm feeling sick, and now he's about to throw up, and they'll go like, hey, what's wrong? Even Emilia's really asking the situation at hand, and the episode ends off there. So, talk about a way to end the episode when everything seems nice and smooth, even though there was some crazy drama in between, then that ending having to play out from the antagonist that to be the Witch's Wrath, I believe, Witch's Cult Wrath or something like that. And that song that was playing during the credits, that is to show that there's a lot more chaos to come and much more possible worry cliffhangers to be ended off of. So whatever the situation that has to be coming, Subaru is going to be in one hell of a hellish time again. I mean, it's been over 1 year that he gets to relax from that hell, and now he's back into it again. So I hope he finds a way to solve this or find the Witch Wrath, whoever that person is. But yeah. Speaking of which, speaking of Garfield, the day when he found his mom that he calls mom, he wasn't back the next day. But whatever his personal event is happening, we'll have to see him another time, hopefully. Okay, anyways, this episode right here, wow. I mean, I didn't have much time. I did not have the time to really finish the episode, because when people were mentioning that this was going to be in 1 hour and 30 minutes, I thought it might be less than that, because if you remember commercials and all that, they always cut in between when it comes to the half times of of ReZero. But throughout this entire movie episode I watched, there wasn't a halftime, so I guess they weren't playing. And honestly, if this was just an episode by episode, this would have taken weeks to It would have taken weeks to possibly finish to get to. I think either let's see here, possibly the third or fourth episode, if I remember correctly. I mean, ReZero has always been past the 23-minute mark, so at least maybe if by chance we get to the possibly fourth episode at most, if it was to run for 30 minutes, that is, we would have gotten that ending right there of the movie episode. So yeah. Anyways, me being off topic and maybe suck at calculating things, this episode right here was pretty intense. Well, the ending was the intense, but throughout the episode, it was just 90% relaxing, nothing really big going on, well, with some heavy drama that's happening. But that ending of the last 10% of the episode, yeah. Oh boy. Anyways, pretty excited to see ReZero. It's been like many years. I mean, like someone mentioned about like it's been 3.5 years. I'd say it's been like yeah, it's been about 3 years, and let's see here. I guess close to 8 months and 8 months and a half, or maybe 3 years and 9 months. Because like I said, when it came to the second season, part 2 of ReZero, that showed up in January 2021. So 3 years passed by. Yeah, you get the idea. Anyways, looking forward to like next episode. Hopefully it'll be a good one or a crazy one if I have to say so myself. Honestly, I was laughing out loud most of the time when it came to certain scenes, but that ending, I'd say otherwise. So until then, people, I'll see you guys in the next video. So I'm Alpha Zero. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace out. Bye bye. Toot toot.